The abuse of Teonna Rainwater on 1923 brings attention to the abuse of thousands of Native American children nationwide during the late 19th and early 20th century. But did it actually happen that way? I started by Googling Native American schools, and then quickly got to a man named Richard Pratt who said, "Kill the Indian and save the man, and holy cow, is there ever a story to tell." It's Billy Dukes, and we should have known better than to question the historical accuracy of Yellowstone, especially as it pertains to Native American affairs. Pratt was Captain Richard Pratt, and according to a thread at George Mason University, he actually said kill the Indian in him and save the man. I've linked to his full treatise in the description section below. It's wildly inhumane by 21st century standards, but to summarize, Pratt believed that the United States did such a bang-up job of assimilating African Americans, they should take a similar approach to Native Americans. I know, there's a lot wrong with that. But the thing is, his approach was more compassionate than an approach endorsed by others at the time. At the beginning, he quotes a general who said, "The only good Indian is a dead one." Before we get to the truth about the boarding schools depicted in 1923, I want to introduce you to Aminah Nieves and Jennifer Ehle, who play Teonna Rainwater and Sister Mary on 1923. Along with Sebastian Roche's Father Renaud, they form the pit of the most uncomfortable scenes from just about any Taylor Sheridan drama. These scenes offend all five senses, and both women do a really tremendous job acting them out. Fun fact, Nieves had never really acted before, but she was in many ways raised to play this part.
I mean, these are stories that have been shared throughout my family for generations. So I had that, just our own experiences as being Indigenous to Turtle Island. But also I did talk to various other elders from different tribes as well.
Quick point of clarification, Turtle Island is what many Indigenous people call Earth, or more specifically North America. We're going to talk about this a lot more in an upcoming episode of the Dutton Rules podcast. Find a link to that below, and while you're there, consider tapping the subscribe button for more Yellowstone and 1923 analysis videos. Ehle's Sister Mary and Roche's Father Renaud are who I'm calling 1923's most controversial characters. Both have long film and TV resumes that you can Google. Through the first two episodes of 1923, we learn that children from the tribes are forced to go to boarding schools that are often hundreds of miles away from their homes. A piece from Oklahoma University's Gaylord College of Journalism shares that at least 1,500 kids from Oklahoma were sent to Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. This is the school that Captain Pratt led, and per OU and other sources, it set a standard for these schools that were, and it's important to point this out, government funded. Crudely put, the idea was to assimilate young Native American students into American life by giving them Anglo names and by teaching them to become ranchers, farmers, wives, and other full-fledged members of the American Industrial Revolution. They couldn't speak their own language, had to cut their hair, learn Christian religions, and often perform manual labor. The Montana Memory Project laid out a pretty typical daily schedule, and dang if that doesn't look like a prison schedule. In many places, food and hygiene were worse than a prison, and then there was the abuse. A 2022 story at Montana Public Radio hones in on 18 boarding schools in Montana, noting that the U.S. Department of Interior documented marked or unmarked burial sites at 53 of these schools nationwide. If this sounds familiar, it's likely because last spring, thousands of unmarked graves were discovered at similar schools in Canada. Who here thinks they just haven't found all the bodies in America yet? Stories of abuse are really widespread, and I'll just point out one from that OU piece. Joe Wheeler was educated at a school in Oklahoma, and he says, quote, "First they cut my hair, then they made me eat soap, and then they beat me for speaking my language." These kids would often remain at these schools for 2, 4, or even 10 years. All of this makes me really nervous for Teonna in 1923 because Aminah and Jennifer shared this small spoiler from an upcoming episode.
Really
and you and Lena Robinson speak Crow in it.
Yes, Lena Robinson,
how cool.
who plays Babakti, we both speak Crow, which was really, Crow is a beautiful language, and having a native language be highlighted is so important.
Shout out to Taste of Country's Sterling Whitaker for nabbing that interview. I'm Billy Dukes for Taste of Country. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.